All right, today we are diving into a truly ancient story of rebellion that has, believe it or not, echoed down through the centuries, the Book of Maccabees. This is an absolutely dramatic tale about how an oppressed people fought back against a massive empire. And it's a story of faith that brings up some big questions we're still talking about today. But at the very heart of this huge conflict is a really human question. I mean, what pushes a family of priests, people who are supposed to be dedicated to peace, to actually lead a violent, full-scale rebellion? That right there, that's the central drama we're about to get into. So to really get what drove them to this point, we have to kind of picture the world they were living in. And let me tell you, this was not some minor disagreement. This was a flat-out fight for survival against a global superpower. So, try to imagine this. It's the 2nd century BCE. The land of Judea is under the thumb of the massive and powerful Seleucid Empire. This was one of those Greek-influenced kingdoms that popped up after Alexander the Great. And for the Jewish people living there, well, it meant they were subjects of a foreign power, one with totally different customs and beliefs. And the situation went from bad to worse really, really fast. In 175 BCE, this new ruler, Antiochus IV, he comes to power and starts actively persecuting the Jewish people. That same year, he orders the desecration of their sacred temple in Jerusalem. I mean, that's an act that strikes right at the heart of their entire faith. So it's not a huge surprise that by 167 BCE, a priest named Matthias had just seen enough. He's the one who lit the spark that ignited years of just brutal warfare. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some political fight. To the people of Judea, the temple wasn't just a building. It was the center of their universe, the one place on earth where God's presence was supposed to be. So an attack on the temple was an attack on their identity, on their covenant with God. This desecration was, without a doubt, the ultimate tipping point. But of course, a massive revolt like this doesn't just happen on its own. It needs leaders. And in this story, leadership was, well, it was a family affair. Right at the center of this whole thing was one family. You have Matthias, the patriarch, the guy who started it all, and then his sons just stepped right up. Simon, he was the military strategist, Eleazar, who becomes the high priest, and Jonathan, the youngest, who actually becomes king in the end. I mean, think about that. The fate of an entire nation rested on their shoulders. But the Book of Maccabees is so much more than just a history book full of battles and kings. It's layered with these powerful themes and symbols that are trying to communicate a much deeper message. When you look at the story this way, 3 core ideas really jump out. First, it's a powerful story about resisting tyranny. Second, it's about staying faithful to your beliefs, even under the most extreme pressure. And third, it puts forward this idea that there's a divine hand at play. You know, the idea that God actually intervenes in human history. You know, one of the most famous symbols from the story is the miraculous oil they found in the temple. So after the Maccabees win and they go to rededicate their sacred space, they find only enough pure oil to last for 1 day, but miraculously, it burned for 8 days. This oil represents so much more than just light. It symbolizes that spiritual purification, that cleansing they needed after the temple had been profaned. And this really gets to the larger point. The physical act of cleaning the temple was a symbol for the entire nation. The ultimate goal here wasn't just political freedom, it was about restoring purity and holiness to their people and to their land. Now, for a book with such a dramatic story, you might actually be surprised to learn that its legacy is just as dramatic. For centuries, there's been this huge debate about where it even belongs. The main point of division is its place in the Bible itself. In Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Bibles, the Book of Maccabees is included as scripture in a section called the Deuterocanon, but in most Protestant Bibles, it's not part of the official canon, which means it's seen as historically valuable, maybe, but not divinely inspired. And this single difference has shaped how millions of people have viewed this text for centuries. And the controversy doesn't stop there. Oh no. Scholars still debate how historically accurate some of the events and characters are. The book has these apocalyptic visions that people interpret in wildly different ways. And to make things even more complicated, the original text is lost. All we have are translations of translations, which means we're always kind of one step removed from the source. All of this leads us to one final, really crucial question. The story of the Maccabees is powerful, but it's also deeply contested. So when a text is so shrouded in debate over its history, its meaning, and its very place in Scripture, who gets to decide the true story?
It just reminds us that history is never just about the past. It's always about how we choose to remember.